So you have your PhD in neurology and immunology, and then you went to the Karolinska Institute. And what was it like there? It's really an exciting place.
It is an exciting place. I mean, my boss there was on the Nobel Committee. It was interesting because he would always sneak in the day before they were going to make the announcement about the prizes in medicine and physiology and tell us who was going to be the winner. And of course, one year when I was there, it was a group of immunologists, and it was very nice to be at that. So I was invited to the ceremony, to the actual ceremony when the King of Sweden presents the awards. And then I was invited to go to the banquet afterwards. So I snuck on one of the buses to get from the concert house to the town hall. I happened to be one of the American winners. The prize was given to 2 chemists from Texas that year, and in chemistry. So yeah, having that connection and being able to hear potential Nobel laureates come and give a talk because they wanted to raise the attention of their research to the committee. So we would go to lectures by many, many famous people, and it was really a very stimulating environment. I learned to speak Swedish, and my boss said, "What do you like to do for fun?" And I said, "I like to sing." And so I sang with the Stockholm Philharmonic Orchestra chorus and got paid. So it was a wonderful experience. On my mother's side, my heritage is Swedish. So again, it was kind of nice.
Home.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Well, that's fascinating. And so you, after you finished at the Institute, you went back to Boston?
I went back to UCLA.
You went back to UCLA. And then you were the first woman to become a full professor in neurology.
I was. I went back. I had to study multiple sclerosis. So the work I did in Stockholm, we had to find patients with MS. MS, the disease itself, is more prevalent in the upper latitudes. So in Scandinavia, there are many MS patients. Mm-hmm. And so I worked for a doctor who arranged for me to work with neurologists in Stockholm to get material from MS patients. So when I went back to UCLA, I was in the Department of Neurology, had access to patients' blood so we could study their immune response. Mm-hmm. We wanted to know, were there deficits in their immune response? Where were there pro-inflammatory cytokines that might be overactive? So and I was there for almost 20 years in the department. And over the course of that, I had students. I had graduate students and postdocs and medical students come and work in my lab. So again, there was always an exchange between having students, teaching students, and learning from them.
Right, so the mentee becomes the mentor.
Yes. And
the teacher is the student.
That's right.
So you kind of flip back and forth.
Right.
So there's a great exchange of ideas and experiences, and just everybody can learn from everybody else.
That's right.
And that's the nice thing about being in academia.
Yeah.
Right? And you're always trying to foster the people around you so that they can get smarter.
Right. And look out for their careers. You would hope that, when they finish their degree in your lab, that they're going to get a good postdoc someplace. So
mm-hmm.
so that's called managing down.
Right.
And then I learned, after I left and went into the business world, which is the pharmaceutical industry, also having a laboratory filled with people whose careers I wanted to foster and improve. That's when I learned I needed to also manage up.
Yes. So what does that mean?
Well, in an academic environment, your boss is not really your boss. You have a chairman of the department, mm-hmm. and you're pretty independent. As long as you get your research done and you get papers published and you get money to do your research, mm-hmm. invited to give talks, teach students. I had to teach medical students and do university service, so sit on some of the major committees in the university and go up through the ranks. You were an independent owner-operator, so to speak, of your own business. In fact, I got an MBA at night while I was on the faculty in the neurology department, just so I could do better business.
Right.
Write grants, please your funders, right? The people
Yeah.
are giving you money, make the product worthwhile. And then I was recruited into the pharmaceutical industry, and there one has to have a portfolio and put things through a pipeline and
Right.
come up with so many drugs a year. And your bosses being held accountable, and you're being held accountable to your boss. So I quickly learned that was part of the deal, and I needed to please my boss. I needed to get along. I needed to do what he or she wanted me to do, in addition to having my own independent ideas, because there was somebody else to answer to.
And so you worked at several pharmaceutical companies.
I came out from the West Coast to work for Herbst, Marion Roussel in Bridgewater, New Jersey. And then they merged with Rohr, a French company. So I'm in a German company, and they merged, and we became Aventis.
Yes.
And during my Aventis years, which were almost 11 years, I worked on a drug for multiple sclerosis that really was, it became the second orally available drug for the treatment of the disease. It was approved by the FDA in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Very rewarding feeling to work. It took that long a period of time, as it does for most drugs. And then at the end of my period working there, Sanofi, the French company, took over, so the company became Sanofi. So I worked there for 11 years, and then I was recruited to Merck Serono in Geneva. The Merck family still owns Merck in Europe, and they merged with an Italian company. So I worked in Geneva. The company was Merck Serono in Geneva, and in Boston, where I lived and traveled every month to Geneva, the company was EMD Serono. So I had there, and I also was I was vice president in charge of work for multiple sclerosis.